sit down for those 1-2 hours, however long it takes for you to create a track. You submit it. And then as long as it's getting used, as long as it's playing, you get paid for that. So 5 to 10K is definitely attainable. Just creating music consistently on a consistent basis, submitting to publishers who, are consistently publishing, doing what they're supposed to do. Yeah, your royalties, they start to stack up.
How fast do you think someone can start sync and get to 100K in sync?
It depends. I think depending on which lane you decide to go down, it can be quicker for some and it can be slower for others, right? Because you have different spaces. So if you're kind of focused more so on the ad space, right? Where you could easily see a 5-figure upfront fee just for an ad campaign for a brand, for just one placement, and and then still have the ability to relicense that same track multiple times. So it could happen faster in that space. Whereas if you start off more so, background instrumental cues on reality TV shows, it may take a while to kind of build up, because a lot of that pay is going to be back end royalties, unless you're doing like full songs and they're placing those songs. Then sometimes those come with upfront fees as well. So it just depends on which route you go. But I always like to set realistic expectations for, producers that I'm working with and coaching, and say, hey, like this is a long play. You know what I mean? The reason I got into it was for the fact that you can kind of build up that residual revenue over time through royalties just from your music airing over and over and over again. So it took me a solid 5-6 years to see significant income every quarter from music that's been playing on TV shows and things like that. And then as I worked more in this space, the bigger paying opportunities started to come about. So it really just depends on the individual and which route they decide to go.
You actually got my mind going. There's so many things you touched on. Like, one, you said significant income coming every quarter. You looked at it as it's like a passive thing that you build up. So what would you define as like significant income? At least like 5-10K every quarter that comes in that you don't have to like work for at that point. Like at that point, you're literally it's all working for you for real, for real.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's 5 to 10K is definitely attainable. Just creating music consistently on a consistent basis, submitting to publishers who, are consistently publishing, doing what they're supposed to do. Your royalties, they start to stack up, and you'll have a lot of your old tracks working for you on top of the new stuff that you're submitting. So it just starts to pile, it just starts to stack and snowball over time to where, your music is working for you. You sit down for those 1-2 hours, however long it takes for you to create a track, you submit it. And then as long as it's getting used, as long as it's playing, you get paid for that. So every time, Love and Hip Hop re-airs an episode that had your music on it, you're going to get paid every single time, so every time they have those marathons, you see a nice boost in the royalties because they went through, a whole season and then had the recap shows that they have at the end of the season. So yeah, man, over time it adds up, and that's not including, the upfront fees that you can see from stuff. And those can range from a few $100s, sometimes nothing. It really depends on the project too. But, typically, if you're getting a song placed on a TV show or series, even on a streaming network, you can see anything from, a few $100s to, I think averages up to about 3,000-5,000 upfront sync fees. So those tend to add up as well.
Now, talking about these residuals, like, 'cause obviously, especially something you want to put long-term effort to, you want to get a sense of what that money looks like. We know streaming artists are always complaining, right, in terms of what that check looks like. We're seeing actors and songwriters complaining about their residual check specifically. We're not even talking about upfront. Let's just say I'm sure it varies, so maybe we need to talk about the different categories and things like that as well. But what does a residual check look like for a producer? Like, is it $20? I've been seeing like a lot of actors be like, man, I got $20 for this episode that re-aired or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So shoot, hey, on the streaming side, we're complaining too, because that's been the cause of a lot of issues, man. So I'll break it down for you. So we have, regular TV, like local TV. You have network TV, then you have like cable TV, right? So when it comes to your music being aired and played on a TV show, all of those have different prices. So just a non-network channel, something small, I don't know, not like a major network, right? So something like a UPN or like some random local channel, it's not going to pay as much, right? So you may see a few dollars in royalties per performance or airing or whatever. Then you could go to an NBC or ABC or CBS, and that same placement could pay you, um, a few $100s, right? And then you can go to the cable, and then it's like in between the few dollars and a few hundred. You could typically see, anywhere from 5 cents to 20 something dollars per airing, depending on the channel. Because then when you get in the cable, now you got, different networks and channels that pay differently. So all of those different tiers are just different fees, different royalties. And then once you get to streaming, it's pennies, like it, and it's, well, fractions of pennies. So it takes it takes a while to add up to the pennies. But the streaming pays the least out of all of the different outlets. So I think that's something that we still have to fight for as well, just to get them to increase that, because just the whole model that's set up now, it's archaic, and it needs to be updated to pay better for creators. But all those different things play a role into how much you get paid. Also, how long the track is used.
Hey yo, shop fresh new merch, link in description. Premise Records, artist real, money is fake, that shit federal TV.
Plays a role in how long it gets paid. A few seconds, you can see, not that much, but then once you pass kind of like this 45-second minute mark, then you kind of get like this bonus, I guess, for the length of it being used. So the longer it plays, the more they pay. So, the goal is to, hopefully they play something for a longer period of time, but you're going to have a mixture of all types of stuff, some 3-5 second stuff, some 30-second stuff, some minute and a half. Once you get into sports, then you're looking at longer placements there. So it's all over the place, man. Really, really depends on the network, time of day that plays a role. As well as how long they're using the track and the type of placement, because if it's a vocal song versus an instrumental, the vocal is going to pay more as well. So many different factors that play a role into how much you get paid.
Yeah. So is there like I guess like a most coveted or a most sought after type of placement in sync? Because I remember we had another guest on that talked about like getting movie trailers is like really big on a lot of producers. Like you get the trailer, it's kind of like you made it a little bit in that sense. But like, I guess what are those placements that are a little bit more lucrative and probably more sought after because of that?
Yeah, feature placement. So that's a placement where, say they take your song and there's no one talking over it. It's just your song just playing to picture. So we call that like a feature use. So that pays more. And then the next one up is honestly, man, I think a theme. You get a theme song, like I think that's probably the most coveted thing, because, as you know, from some of the classic shows, man, like that show can get syndicated and just air for decades, and you just continue to get paid, depending on what the agreement was. But I think that's probably one of the most coveted in the TV space, is just landing the theme song. Then of course the trailers are dope, which I feel like that's a whole lane in itself. Like just composing trailer music is a skill. And then those feature placements.
Let's talk about the fact that most artists fail to understand that it doesn't take forever to monetize your audience. We had an artist literally begin to take off and make $20,000 from his brand new audience in the same month. But how is that possible? It's because we're in a new era, baby. Yes, you want to continue to build a relationship over time, but the first time you make money from your audience can happen today if you understand the new age music marketing funnel for artists. So if you want to hear about this approach and how you can apply it to yourself, I made a completely free video to watch at www.nolabelsnecessary.com/monetize. You got to make sure you put the www, or if you're on YouTube, you can find the link in the description, and check out how we've helped monetize artists for completely free. I promise it'll completely change how you see things. The theme song seems to me out of those potentially the dopest, right?
Yeah,
outside of, because one, like you said, you get the passive income for so long, right? If it works out to that point, right? But on top of that, like the theme songs that are really like household name theme songs, after you get to that point, you kind of have some level of celebrity that you could begin to capitalize on yourself. You can start to market yourself as I'm the guy who wrote that song, right? Whether that's professionally or outside of the industry. So there's more social capital that you can pull from as well.
Facts. Yeah, I agree.
What about that third one? You said, oh, trailers. So trailers being at the top, and then the other one you called features. Can you describe that one more time? Because I think I see a common thread, but what do you mean by features again?
Like feature use. So a feature use, when we talk about sync licensing, a lot of times we're talking about synchronizing music to picture. So a lot of times our music is underneath dialogue. So it's a conversation happening between, a couple of the actors or something like that. Or in a commercial, there's somebody talking, doing the voiceover over the commercial. But when you talk about music and it's only the music, all you hear is like the song, you can hear it clear. It's not like a source use where it's like coming from a car stereo or a radio in a restaurant. It's just like loud and clear as they're transitioning maybe from one scene to the next. You hear 30 seconds of this song, and those are huge for a couple reasons. So it's huge because it's a feature use. Feature use just pay more in royalties. And if that song is just prominent and it's in the forefront and people rock with it, now they're pulling out their phones and they're Shazamming it. So if you're an artist and you get like a feature placement on, TV show, movie or whatever, now they're Shazamming, now your streams are going up. You know what I'm saying? Now you can also add that credibility to your brand as an artist. Like, for example, some friends of mine, APX, we had a track placed that they did on Napoli Ever After with Sanaa Lathan on Netflix. And, they're able to say, hey, like this song was featured on Napoli Ever After. And they will forever be able to attach that to their brand as an accomplishment. So it's a win-win, to have a use like that, even a background use, because you can still, add that to your credits. But yeah, it's a win-win. You can't really lose with getting your music featured like that.
Wow, what's up? It's Brandman Sean. And if you like this clip, you can listen to the full episode on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you stream your podcasts. But if you want to keep watching, we've placed a video that will be so useful for you conveniently above. Go ahead and click that link.
Hey yo. Shop fresh new merch. Link in description. Peerless Records. Art is real, money is fake. That shit federal TV.